15,000 kids watched it online and live. You broadcast the whole match.
World Cup में कभी आप लियारी जाएं. It's all yellow and blue.
Really?
My generation always supports Argentina. लियारी में आप किसी से मिल नहीं सकते जो फुटबॉलर ना हो, या किसी बच्चे से मिल नहीं सकते जिसका ड्रीम क्रिस्टियानो रोनाल्डो या मेसी का ना हो. कि फुटबॉल स्किल हम फ्लुएंट साइड पे उतनी तेज़ी से नहीं डेवलप कर सकते जितनी तेज़ी से हम अंडर प्रिविलेज में कर सकते. I would take ownership of 50 girls and 50 boys. You know, these kids, their parents put these kids through school. अब पेट काट के उनका पैसे देते हैं, 500 रुपये per month या whatever the case may be.
स्पोर्ट्स एक ऐसा सब्जेक्ट है जहाँ पे मैं समझता हूँ कि देयर इज़ ट्रेमेंडस अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर प्रोग्रेस एंड पॉजिटिव प्रोग्रेस in this country, in communities across this country. And I've been looking for areas where sports is making that impact. And I found one such area in Karachi, in one of the football clubs called Karachi United, where coincidentally my daughter also plays. And I saw how well this organization was managed, run, where it was helping inner city kids achieve their full potential, not just in the sport itself, but in the areas of education, nutrition, and even emotional development. And I decided to have someone from their founding body to come and talk to me about the work that they're doing and how they're creating real change at the grassroots level using sport, using specifically football. We're going to talk about Karachi United today, and we're going to speak to one of the co-founders, Ali Atta, here next. Ali, how are you today?
Assalamu alaikum, Faizan.
Thank you for being here. Now, let me start by saying that Karachi United, 96 May, it was founded. And there are three founding directors.
Now I was going to correct you on that.
There are three founding members, three founding directors. None of them are professional footballers.
No, none of us.
एक lawyer है, Taha Ali Zai. एक जो है IT consultant है, Imran Ali. And then there's yourself, who works in supply chain for a multinational.
Yeah, and I think there is logic to that story.
I was going to ask, but three non-footballers starting a football club, walk me through the idea.
So thank you very much. I think nobody's ever opened it up like this, so it gives me some room to think as well. I think the reason why we are running this organization is because we are not professional footballers. Had we gotten our dreams, we would have not gone down this road. And this is all retrospective, so I haven't thought through this. But our aim, let me put...
Did you play football when you were young? Was that your...
So we're all footballers.
But that was your favorite sport?
We were just never good enough to play at that level.
Acha, okay. So that was your sport?
Yeah, that was our sport. And by the way, when we started, we thought we were going to play for Pakistan. Let's be clear.
So 96 mein jab ye start kiya tha.
We thought that we would eventually be able to get there. And we would be able to represent, if not the Pakistan national team, we would be able to take Karachi United to a Champions League and represent Pakistan. Right? So that would be the other way to represent Pakistan. But what we've understood over the last, 27, 28 years is that you can't just bring excellence out of nothing. Excellence is a habit, and that needs a lot of pre-work put into it. A lot of personal habits, lifestyles have to be aligned to it. What we realized is that there is not enough support in this country to develop footballers. And that's what we've been trying to do. We realized a long time ago that we weren't going to be the people who will be representing, so to speak. We started the Karachi League before the PFF started the Pakistan Premier League. And the reason we started it is so that we could give ourselves, quote unquote, competition. Because there's only so many times in a week, in a month, in a year that you can go and practice. There has to be something that you play towards. So in 2003, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 2002, we started the Karachi League. This predates the Pakistan Premier League. And the idea was to bring localized clubs to a platform. And by the way, you would be surprised to know there are over 450 registered football clubs in Karachi.
In Karachi only?
Ji.
Pakistan mein kitne honge total?
I don't want to guess the number. It's significant.
Achha, so there's 450 registered clubs in Karachi. How many stadiums are there to play?
I know of 3 or 4.
3 or 4 stadiums?
Which are not being used also.
3 to 4 stadiums.
KPT is still being used. People Stadium is not being used. There's a couple of others.
People Stadium किधर है? For Liari में. But वो तो अच्छा खासा वो redo हुआ था, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone up and down and so on.
लेकिन वहाँ के हालात कुछ ऐसे हैं.
Yeah, it's not. I think it's being used as a
Jalsa ground.
No, I think it's a bit more than that. I think it's being used currently by the Rangers as part of their.
अच्छा. So football
part of the whole Karachi improvement plan and what.
So football ground for kids is being used by.
This is not new. This is very, very old.
And what are the other two?
So there's KPT, which is close to it. There is one which is the UBL Sports Complex, which is and there's Madhu Mohammedan. Right now we call ourselves a Karachi United Stadium as well, although it's not a stadium. It's not built like a stadium. It's more of a ground. But of course, that's used wholly and solely for
4 proper stadiums for spectators or grounds कितने होंगे? Football grounds.
I don't know, 10, 12?
That's nothing.
Yeah.
And you get 20 से कम stadiums and grounds combined.
Yeah. Oh, a lot less. And listen, these are not curated grounds, by the way. A lot of them would just be
An open field.
with
Empty plot.
mitti, not grass.
So अब ये 450 clubs फिर इन्हीं जगहों पे खेलेंगे.
Yeah. So there's a lot of there's always some depth behind all of this. Right. A lot of these 450 clubs are now subject to scrutiny and whether they are all real clubs or they are, because there's a political element.
कौन इन clubs को monitor कौन कर रहा था पहले?
BFF is responsible for managing all of it, right?
Okay.
And ultimately, in the new scheme of things, now they've digitalized a lot of these.
Right.
So these are being scrutinized and straightened out as we speak. So the current normalization committee has done a fantastic job in bringing about this digital database of clubs, as well as the players that are in those clubs, because this is a huge controversy a few years ago.
कि कौन सा player कहाँ खेल रहा है? Could be playing in multiple clubs at the same time.
So yeah, we've got.
So इसमें just for my understanding, so PFF is the Pakistan Football Federation. They are the overarching sort of regulatory or authority body that controls all the clubs.
They put the framework for the clubs, and the clubs have to register with them. So yes, you're right.
And so Karachi United is one of those clubs. Got it. But as a club, it is one of the most organized clubs that exists.
That's your view, and I take that as a compliment. We are proud of whatever professionalism we've been able to put in place at Karachi United. So let me give you a little bit of or maybe a story around it. So ultimately, sitting here today, my ultimate dream for Karachi United, and I speak for the three of us, is to export talent out of Pakistan. We believe that there is enough talent in this country where if we give them the right nurturing, the right facilities, the right nutrition, and the right mental inputs, we believe that Pakistanis are good enough to play in the big leagues globally. Right? Is it going to happen next year? No. It'll take time because, like I said, excellence requires pre-work. You can't just wake up one morning and expect to win something. So ultimately, our dream is to be able to get our talent out into the world. In order for us to do that, football is obviously one big ingredient in all of this. And I'm very proud of the fact that we are led by Imran Ali, who is a UEFA A license coach. So he is the guy who brings technical global knowledge on how football is played. Ta is also certified, but not UEFA A license. He's a bit below. We've all done courses and we've all done it, but these two have been ahead of the curve. So हमारा बिलीव ये है कि अगर हम अपने बच्चों को सही न्यूट्रिशन और सही फुटबॉल ट्रेनिंग करवा सकें, तो we will be able to get most of the work done. But one of the major issues that I see in our society is that kids from the affluent side of society are distracted and are not willing to put or commit to a sport like football. And I don't blame them because of where the industry as a whole is.
Distracted by what? Other options?
They have a lot of options in life. Our kids have the opportunity to become doctors, engineers, and so on and so forth.
So why not go after the lower, let's say, social?
That is what we do. So I have 1,500 inner city kids who pay for free at Karachi United. And there are about 500 kids who pay for play. One of them is, I believe, Adina, your kid. And but out of those 1,500 and this 500, what we do is we put academy in place, which is about 50 kids strong. And this is the cream of the crop. So out of the 1,500 and the 500 together, we have now selected 50 kids at various age groups who represent Karachi United's team, starting at under 10, under 12s, under 14s, under 16s. These guys, this academy graduates into the reserve team, which is 16 to 18-year-olds. And that reserve team graduates into the Karachi United professional team.
And the Karachi United professional team then plays against the other registered teams in Karachi?
No, in Pakistan.
In Pakistan.
So we play the Pakistan Premier League, which has, I believe, 12 teams in it. We are sitting somewhere mid-table, but we are happy because we are all homegrown timber.
So Pakistan Premier League कब create हुआ था?
That's a good question. I think it would be somewhere close to 2008.
So it's been around longer than PSL.
It's been around technically longer than PSL. I think so. I'll have to look at these numbers again. So,
football की इतनी अगर global viewership है और reach है, why doesn't us?
But it's not been. It hasn't happened every year.
It's not an annual competition.
So on and off होता है. इसी तरह just to clarify, Faizan, we have a women's team as well, and our women's team is arguably number 2 in Pakistan. They compete in the National Challenge Cup. However, again, it's not. It doesn't happen on an annual basis.
What's the reason for that?
I think it's political unrest or lack of political stability at the top end of.
Do you think there's viewership demand for football games, Pakistani football games? Do you think that there's televised viewership demand or in-stadium demand, just like there is for cricket?
I'll give you an example. So I had 15,000 kids watch the final of the KGS versus
Cedar
match online.
Online, really?
Because I can't afford to put it on TV.
Yeah, because I was in the ground that day and it was a pretty packed ground, but I didn't realize 15...
It's always packed. 1,500 kids on average that watch the game.
And 15,000 kids watched it online and live. You broadcast the whole match. Wow.
So again, there's a lot of room to grow this. We live in a society which is already depraved for
entertainment, sport.
Sport being up there, we are emotional people. Sport sucks us in like nothing else does. At least that's my understanding of what Pakistanis are about. And I believe that this would also be the easiest way to bring the community together.
Absolutely.
Because everything else we actually disagree on. These are the only few things that we actually agree on. And even if you were sitting there and, I'm assuming you were pulling for one team and not the other, but you would have been just fine at the other team. In fact, I think Cedar did win.
Cedar did.
Cedar did. Alma mater. Yeah. My alma mater, I was pulling for Graham, but as an organizer, I have to be neutral. But of course, at the back of your head, you wish your school won. Yeah. But I think the best team won that day. Yeah. And I'm very happy to say that because I think the sport needs to win. Yeah. And if the sport wins, we will all end up winning. Our kids will win, and our kids and kids will win.
So let me try to understand. Let's say we're sitting here right now. Here's an opportunity कि इस पूरे game को एक national level पे हम ले जा सकते हैं. What do you think are some of the first 3 to 5 steps that need to be taken? कि let's say जो Premier League है और ये सारे अपना associations या clubs हैं जो feed कर रही हैं इसको, and you're a team in the Premier League को हम एक PSL जितने बड़े scale पे ले जाएं. What do you think are some of the steps that need to be taken?
देखिए, so again, quite apart from all the marketing dollars and the endorsements and everything, so I'll leave that aside. For now. Again, ultimately, the product has to be good enough for you to sit for 90 minutes and watch it. Now, I don't know about you, but you can't tear me away from the Premier League match, especially if the top 3, top 4 teams are playing. I will watch that match. I will probably get feedback from the family. Okay, we're late running somewhere, because that's how engaging that content is. So first and foremost, Pakistan needs to invest in coaching if you really want to build grassroots football. If you want to do everything together, we need to have a league in place. Mr. Constantine, our current head coach of the Pakistan national team, has now said it, I don't know, umpteen times. But the reality is that we don't have a national league which is consistent. And if you don't have a consistent national league, there is no real motivation for any kid to really work towards what end goal. So there is no real end goal in place. The diaspora players that they've been pulling in will do the job in the short term. But again, in the long term, unless our plan is to just play with diaspora players across the world, this can't be the long-term strategy. It's fine for the short-term strategy, trying to save your face. I'm okay with that. But long-term strategy has to be around youth development.
Absolutely. But that's a long play. It takes about 15 years to show results.
Start today.
Right. Then you're
We
looking...
would be alive by the time this happens, or we hope to be alive.
So you're saying that the first thing is to develop the local, raw, baseline talent. Create the right, which will then create the right content, which will then glue you to your screens. And then if you're glued to the screen in your viewership,
you have to do both, right? So you have to get the top league up.
Yeah.
That the kids have motivation to move,
to
be on TV, to be the superstar. Ultimately,
to your point, the affluent kids then don't have distractions because they see a destination.
Fair enough. Although I think the jury is still out of that, because even the Western moderns, very few affluent kids come into hardcore sports. Most of the time, ghettos is where superstardom is born.
Right.
But I think some of that is being questioned now with the likes of Virat Kohli and all of these guys coming in who are coming from the right side of society. Mm-hmm. Having said that, that's not important. The point is that football has enough glamour already to pull you in. Our kids would give up their left leg to play football because they love the sport and it's exciting for them. That's what both my kids do. I mean,
right.
No, one of them.
No, exactly.
So this is what they do.
Mine gave up swimming to play football.
There you go.
And she was provincial, but national level swimming, champ. We put her into swim camp and she chose football over this. And I said, okay, what is it about football? That's when I started following what you guys do. Okay, what is it about this football league, this association, this club that is so appealing to these kids?
I appreciate you saying that. And again, I will only talk about football as a global or a Pakistani sport. The fact is that all the glamour, even in global sports, most of the glamour lies in football. You might have things like F1 and all, but they're minuscule compared to what
true global, I think, is football. FIFA is truly a global sport, and it is a sport that, I mean, F1 तो आप खेल नहीं सकते ना अपने गली में. मतलब F1 में तो घुसने के लिए आपको you can talk F1, but you can play. And even basketball is not truly a global sport the way football is.
Because it hasn't been expanded. But अगर मैं, for example, Faizan, if you ever get a chance, World Cup में कभी आप लियारी जाएं, you think that you're in Sao Paulo. It's all yellow and blue.
Really?
Yeah, because somehow they
just
aligned here.
They aligned with that.
Yeah. My generation always supports Argentina because we grew up on Diego. But Liari is yellow and blue, and they will always. But the point is that these are very these are deeply embedded values which already exist in society, right? I mean, I work for an FMCG where every day we talk about brand equity and how to make people aware and how to embed certain habits. These are all things which are done from a football angle, Obviously, इसके अंदर कुछ political elements भी हैं. I mean, you've spoken to a few other people. I had a chance to look at some of your more interesting ones as well. And so there are political angles in all of this.
So what role can government play in making this a national sport? Because आपने वो बात तो कर दी कि भाई, I'll come to the individual development of the player. I'll come to that in a second. Obviously the content then comes off of that. ठीक है, there is an infrastructure component to this that's missing, because if you're telling
So that's the number one thing that the government can do.
is provide the infrastructure.
Put infrastructure.
Private enterprise को infrastructure बनाने के लिए ROI चाहिए होता है.
आप देखिए ना, हम लोगों के पास ground है. We don't have the money to put a stadium up. I also don't have the space to put it up in this place. But if I had the money to put up a stadium, I would put up another ground instead and get more kids in. Because instead of filtering through 1,500 kids or 2,000 kids, I would filter through 4,000 kids. I would expand to the north of Pakistan. Your real talent lies in NWFP, in Balochistan, Chaman area.
Really? And that is not thought. Why do you say that?
That's where the superstars are coming from. It's not my view. It's just where the kids are coming.
And is there a reason that they're playing a lot of football over there?
Well, आप लियारी में आप किसी से मिल नहीं सकते जो फुटबॉलर ना हो, या किसी बच्चे से मिल नहीं सकते जिसका ड्रीम क्रिस्टियानो रोनाल्डो या मेसी का ना हो. इसी तरह आप चमन में देख लें, इसी तरह आप NWFP में देख लें, अटक and north. So, and again, mashallah, they are also good physical specimens, right? Ultimately, it's a contact sport. And ultimately, nutrition will matter. Your weight and your muscle mass and your speed and all these things matter. And हमारे तो backyard में ना यार, we can just go to Liari, right? And that's it. They will die. They live and die football. That's the kind of passion they have. The problem is, or maybe the opportunity is, how do we tap into that passion? How do we make that beneficial thing for this country?
As a career, a sport, going into sport in Pakistan, yes, as a career is not a path that you recommend to children.
Not today.
Not today.
I hope this changes.
Yeah, not today. Because I mean, you're like, हाँ ठीक है, स्कूल में कर लिया, sports से discipline आता है.
स्कूल में जीत जाओ, ये कर लो,
जीत जाओ, स्कूल टीम हो गई, चलो ठीक है.
टूर पे जाना है, टूर पे चले जाओ.
सही है. आपका इंटरव्यू.
बट ए लेवल्स में अच्छे एग्जाम मार्क्स आने चाहिए.
फिर आपने कॉलेज जाके फिर आप इंजीनियर, डॉक्टर, लॉयर
बनना है.
अब तो AI स्पेशलिस्ट बनना है. सो ये बात तो सही है, लेकिन इसको अगर चेंज करना है, ऑब्वियसली न्यूट्रिशन एक कंपोनेंट है, न्यूट्रिशन पे बहुत काम करना है. I'm going to come to education in a second. Nutrition पे मैं ये, let's go to the other side. You have 1,500 kids that have this challenge, nutrition का, that you're working through and trying different options. ठीक है?
I'm focusing on my academy at the moment.
And your academy at the moment, right? And that's what I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
Then there's these 500 kids that do a pay to play. They do not have the same challenges for nutrition that the other 1,500 do, or education. On the nutrition front, what do you think they should be doing, and are they doing that today?
Oh, the kids who have the nutrition. Yeah, so they need to stay away from sugar. That's number one. Stay away from junk food. That's number two.
Why is that? Sugar से the energy मिलती है that it can be used in the field.
Yeah, what sugar does is it numbs you out, right? It gives you a spike of energy and then it gives you a low. So we don't associate with sugar, or maybe we do, some of the more intelligent ones. When we see our kid being hyperactive, we blame sugar for it. But when we see our kid being chidchida, we don't blame sugar for it because sugar happened 2 hours ago. This is the aftermath of that sugar that's happened. Yeah. So sugar will always give you inorganic ups and downs. It's difficult to manage. And again, I'm not saying that I've managed it. I've now come to terms with how I should manage my own nutrition. And I, for one, I'd like to stay away from sugar, but I think more so from junk food. Again, putting non-nutritious food through your system, you might think that, hey, it has no calories and therefore I won't get a belly at the end of the day. But it also messes up your engineering inside you. You know, imagine if you were putting a carpet through a ganne ki machine. The ganne ki machine will break at some point. You can't just say, oh, there's no nutrition, therefore the ganne ki machine won't gain weight. It might not, but it'll certainly break at some point. So we need to look at things holistically. I think a lot of us substitute food for other emotional elements that, we don't necessarily have control over. But I'm not a nutritionist. I think nutritionists would do a much better job of doing it. If I was to talk to my kids, what I tell them is to stay away from sugar as much as possible. If they're going to have sugar, have natural sugar. have fruits, have ganna, have ganderi if you really want something sweet. And focus on fiber, focus on protein.
And are these kids, the pay-to-play kids, doing that exactly?
The focused ones are
How many of the 500 are focused?
20%.
That's not a bad number. That's about 100 kids. That's good. So I would also add then the sort of emotional development of the players is also, so nutrition, the education, and the emotional development. Because what you're saying is, कि यार at this point, मतलब I want the glory, मुझे goal करना है, मुझे score करना है, like, but मेरी team के लिए it's not the best decision right now. How do you emotionally coach these kids to handle that level of pressure, number one, and to put aside their ego, right? Because it's also a sport where on a global level, I mean, you're the center of attention, and that can get to you after a while. Your crowd in, let's say, the Cedar versus KGS game, the crowd is chanting a couple of kids' names. That kid's on a high. You know, how do you manage that coaching? What is it that you guys do differently?
Yeah, so I'll relate it to emergency response, where people know when they hear something, their legs have to do this. There's not a lot of critical thinking at that stage. कि मैं अब यूं सोचूंगा तो यूं करूंगा. You, for example, when you do emergency response in a plane, you have 3 minutes to get 300 people out of the plane. There's no strategic stuff happening in those 3 minutes. There's only execution. The way we approach, first of all, we start early, right? So we're talking about 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds. We're not talking about 16-year-olds that we are training to become professionals. ठीक है? 2002 में हम लोग गए थे, we took our youth. 2002 में था, 2005 में था शायद, I apologize. 2005 में we went to Manchester United soccer schools with the then first group or second group of individuals who we had inducted into the youth program, and they were, I think, 14-year-olds. So they had been playing with us for 2 years. We had gotten them in as 12-year-olds. We took them to Manchester United soccer schools. We got a chance to rub shoulders with some of the greats at the time. But the one thing I still remember, Carlos Queiroz was the assistant to Alex Ferguson, and he was shocked that our induction was at 12. Because he said that at 10, we decide if this kid is going to be a superstar or not.
At the age of 10?
Yeah, whether we want to further invest or not.
Right.
Now, let's give UK the benefit of the doubt that they've been doing it for many years.
Yeah, fair enough.
But 10 nahi hoga, to 12 hoga, 14 hoga, you know. So we came back and we revamped the entire program. We started to induct at 8, just so we can get there. We can't manage anything less than 8. If you ask me today even, we can't manage less than 8. It's very difficult to do so. We do have a 2-year-old program, by the way. We start at 2, but that's a parent-assisted program. And then the under-6s come in where the parent still is there, but the kid is playing on their own. So again, I think a lot of it has to do with us learning the international benchmarks for how to approach things. And that's the journey that we've been continuing. Initially, it was about getting football training into these kids. We understood very quickly that unless we start investing in our own coaching ability, there is a very short-lived strategy. So the next step was to start pushing coaches into either AFC courses or UEFA courses or even local courses, even if we wanted to just do them ourselves to build capability. We have a relationship with Liverpool through Standard Chartered, one of our patrons and sponsors, and Liverpool does train the trainer for us. So for us, that element becomes very, very important. Now, all of these things have come in post that, because initially हमारा ख्याल ये था कि football skill develop करना चाहिए. Then we realized कि football skill हम affluent side पे उतनी तेजी से नहीं develop कर सकते जितनी तेजी से हम underprivileged में कर सकते हैं, because there's always already a love for the game, and there's already base work which has been done.
And there's no distractions.
So in 2010, we started the foundation, and we brought everything under our foundation. So we are today a not-for-profit organization where Taha, Imran, and myself are volunteers, only the people on ground. And I'm very proud to say this. We have almost 85 employees.
Wow.
They are the ones who get paid. A lot of them are part-time
There's
employees.
85 employees of the organization.
A lot of them are part-time because they're coaches.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the coaches have the training to then emotionally guide and develop and groom the emotions of the players.
My head coach, Imran Ali, and then Hamdan, who looks after my professional team, It's their responsibility to guide these coaches, to build these coaches. Emotional strength is something that we work on lot more in a collective than in singular.
What's the difference?
These kids are too young and not able to understand what it means to go a certain direction in terms of building individual strength. What we do is we build values. So we will push out values that Karachi United upholds. Things like integrity, teamwork, and things like that. We will try to bring these kids into conversations where we talk to them about life skills and how the future will move out. So people like me, I've done a few, and other parents have come in. Of course, all our coaches do it. So we do these talks with these kids where we try to get to understand what they want to be when they grow up and what are some of the things that they could learn from us, right? Things like integrity, things like teamwork, things like hard work, honesty and stuff like that. A lot of the mental work happens on the field in tougher situations. We create situations during our practice where, for example, my head coach will take them through a fitness session and really, bring them to a place where most of them just want to sit down somewhere and then open up a game and say, okay, now let's play 20 minutes or 25 minutes. Everybody's legs are jelly and you're being asked to play and you still want to score because you're a footballer and you see a goal, so you want to run there. And that's where a lot of this stuff comes from.
So what you've shared with me so far is, you've talked about in terms of player development, you've talked about nutrition, you've talked about education, you've talked about the emotional development as well, right? Is this level of player development happening at the other clubs?
Again, I can't say no. I think that there are some clubs who are trying to get there.
Who would you consider your rival?
Again, there's a very good club in Islamabad by the name of Popo, but they seem to be doing very good work.
So there's no rival in Karachi?
Not from a professional.
It's not from the way you guys are operating.
Not from a professional.
To get to your rival.
From a talent perspective, of course.
No, from in terms of the way how a club is run.
No, not so much.
So the closest is Islamabad.
I mean, for example, there are other football academies in Karachi, and they're doing decent job. Kareem, I think you're aware of. Kareem is one of my babies. He's a kid who we got selected at Charlton Athletic as an under 13.
So he went through
He went through
Karachi United, right?
We also helped him get some of his certifications in place. I love the kid. Yeah, he's a fantastic footballer, a fantastic human being. He one day wanted to do his own thing, so he's doing his own thing, and rightfully so. But I think again his focus is on development, not looking at the overall ecosystem, the professional.
He's doing more player development, skill development, right? So he's a good at that part of it.
Yeah. So he competes for our youth, right? Then there are clubs that compete with our top teams. Right. I don't know an organization that competes at every level with us.
So I was going to say, which one competes at an organizational level?
I can't really think of anything. I don't want to sound...
Nothing in Lahore. They don't play football.
They do.
They do.
Lahore has multiple grounds, by the way. All your problems in Karachi, the first 5 questions you asked me would have the opposite answers in Lahore. Endless grounds, endless facilities. A lot of good clubs there. Wave is a good club. Model Town Academy is a good academy. There's a lot of other clubs that are operating there.
So what's next for Karachi United, the next 10 years? I have to comment, by the way, your one comment my daughter made. So I asked her also as I was researching this. I was like, what is it that you like about Karachi United? And she said, she gave me a very surprising answer. She said, our coaches are our role models. I said, wow, that's actually a pretty big thing. She's like, our coaches are football players. So it's not just learning from someone who's telling us what to play, but watching them play, makes us believe more in what they're teaching us, which is why
Adina,
which is why
very mature.
I said that's an interesting, perspective to have. And so with that and with all of what you're doing, what's the next 5 or 10 years looking like for Karachi United?
Yeah, if I had it my way, I would put a residential academy in place. Okay. I would take ownership of 50 girls and 50 boys, 24/7. I would control what they eat. I would control their education, and I would control their lifestyles, football, of course, included. I think that if we do this for 10 years, we will be somewhere in global football, and we would certainly have talent playing abroad. That's
in 10 years.
maybe a little more, yeah. But yeah.
But that's a good goal.
But मैं ये सोच रहा हूँ यार कि अगर if I take in a 8-year-old, that kid would be 18. There or thereabouts. Maybe I'm a bit aggressive. Maybe 14 years, but fair. और उसके लिए we've put some basic strides in place. We don't have the facility, but it'll come when it'll come. And like I said, I believe in the universe conspiring to help me and help all of us. But उसके लिए जो हम अभी program start कर रहे हैं वो ये है कि my next group of academy inducts, which are 8 and 9-year-olds, will all come in. They will all have, we will take care of 13 of the 21 meals in the week. We will take care of their education. We are already taking care of their football. So without having them to stay over at night, we will try to do more. Okay, let me put it this way. We will try to do 60 to 65% of what the residential academy would do without it being a residential academy. So that's the next program. I'm going to be floating out. I'm going to be looking for people who will come and help me for these individuals. And the idea is that we pick them up in the morning, take them to go feed them, get them to school, bring them to KU, let them finish their homework, go into training, finish training, do namaz, have dinner, then go.
Why not partner up with a TCF or one of the people that are running schools already?
So we are. TCF का program बहुत ज़्यादा structured है. It's very difficult for me to get my kids in there. यार लियारी की एक और tragedy भी है ना. Most of these kids go to school. A lot of them go to school.
Right.
Their parents themselves are not educated. In fact, there's a lady by the name of Sabina Khatri. She runs a fantastic organization called the Kiran Foundation. And they're doing a fantastic job. They're one of our partners. They're helping some of our kids through accelerated programs. In fact, one of my kids has been accepted in the army after this program. So, वो मुझे सुना रही थी कहानी, and it was a heartbreaking story. These kids, their parents put these kids through school. अब पेट काट के उनका पैसे देते हैं, 500 रुपए per month या whatever the case may be. After every year they are promoted, and probably the parents also bring mithai every year for the teacher. But when they come to metric, they're told that you're not good enough to sit in metric.
That's unfortunate.
So after 16 years or whatever, 10 years of education, your parents have put in your money, significant amount of money for a person who's making minimum wage or below minimum wage. For them to find out that we were just lying to you for the last 10 years, you didn't really study anything, all your passing grades were not really passing grades, and you're not good enough to take a metric exam. I would want to blow something up also. I would be really upset. Yeah. So these are some of the stresses. Now, my kids who are coming in as 8 or 9-year-olds should ideally be in class 3 or 4. But their reading levels are well below that. I'm talking about class 1 types. So TCF has a much more structured program. It's very difficult for us to get there. Maybe one day we'll be able to tap into it. We are now looking at Al Furqan Foundation. They're doing good work in Karachi, and they have a couple of schools in Shirin Jinnah, which is close to where we are, and we're trying to tie up with them. Early days, but again, Intisar Saab has been very kind, and he's been very upfront and open about it, and we're hoping that this relationship will take us further. So We start with the next inductees, which is going to be in the fall, in August type, or maybe even before July type. And then every year, the next group that comes in with all three setups. So in the next 4-5 years, 100% of the academy would be getting educated.
Interesting. That's a great achievement, yeah.
If
not just for the football, but also for the society, the communities. Bilkul. And I think that's a great achievement for those communities as well. Ali, thank you so much for the time. What you guys are doing is honestly inspiring. I think you guys are doing fantastic work, all pro bono, all out of your free time, from what I understand, for the love of the sport. And what you're doing for the communities as a byproduct, I think is phenomenal. And hopefully in less than 10 years, you'll achieve that vision.
Can I just add one?
Yeah, of course.
So thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying so. But I believe that football has given me back more than what I've given football, right? The amount of respect I've gotten from parents, the respect I have from work, the people that know about the work that we do, and just in general, the support I get. So while I appreciate कि हमने अपना time लगाया, and by the way, the only thing that we've really done is gotten up every morning and showed up.
Yeah.
We've tried to be just consistent with our stuff. We're not the greatest footballers. We're just trying to make sure that we change society as much as.
And that's 90% of it. Wake up, show up. That's it.
Yeah.
I say this every day. And anything you do, it's 90% of it is just showing up.
Yeah, and that's worked wonders for us.
Amazing. Thank you, Ali. Thank you for the time. And honestly, wherever we can be helpful, we will be. And I wish you best of luck with this endeavor. And thank you for tuning in. If you want to learn more about different sports, please let me know which sport you want to learn about. I'm on this mission of trying to learn about every possible sport and how sports are developed in Pakistan and what we can do to develop sports even further, to develop communities even further, to empower communities through sport. So share some comments and like and subscribe the channel. Stay tuned for more. Bye-bye.